Hello, OHSU friends. First step, actually second step, I already started converting the iOS configuration and it's on the switch that I'm going to be working with during this video. That's why the host name looks the way it does. My first step now is to upgrade the code. Now it showed up with 18.4, actually the recommended code that's now shipping on these boxes. I've downgraded it to the 18.1 code that you're using, and I'm going to upgrade it again to 18.4. Now, I know this is a process that you're familiar with, but there were some questions on how to retain the files, so I'm going to walk through those as well, just so if the upgrade gets interrupted, you don't have to walk back out to the box or do anything wild. It does, well, this technique requires you to use a USB stick, but the same principle applies to TFTP, although it's not kind of the same idea because during the upgrade process, anything that's plugged into the box and mounted, that's important, will be wiped. So that's kind of where we protect ourselves by unmounting that drive. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to create a drive. I'm already on step 2 here, so I've got to create my drive here. So we'll do a make dir /var/temp/usb, and then we'll mount _ms-dos fs/dev/da1s1. That's just where these things always mount. Now, when you plug in a USB stick, it will do a scroll on the screen, and you can get that information from that scroll, but I just left it plugged in, so I already know. This is muscle memory for me at this point. So I'll mount the drive there, and now I can do a ls of that drive, and I should see my files, and there we go. So let's copy /var/temp/usb, jinstall, and we're going to do /var/tmp. Well, this takes a minute, so I'm going to go ahead and pause, and we'll come back when the file's done. All right. File's been copied. You can verify that here. Just do a ls/var/tmp, and there it is. Now, the important step, umount /dev/da1s1. If you don't do this, the drive will get wiped. If you try this command and it doesn't work, just check to make sure you're not in one of the two directories. Well, the one directory. It doesn't really care if you're in the dev directory, what am I saying? But if you are in /var/temp/usb, that mount point, you won't be able to unmount the drive. It'll say that the device is busy. And if you ever need to check in Linux, you can just do pwd for present working directory. I do all of this from the root directory. I don't need to go poking around. So we know the file's there. Let's get into the operational mode and let's run the upgrade. So we do a request system software add /var/temp/usb/jinstall. Oh, pardon. Not there anymore. You don't want to install from the USB because then you can't unmount it and it will get wiped. Now I'm going to add a couple commands here as well. I'm going to do no validate. The validation process when you upgrade Junos it's kind of a syntax check. It takes extra time, which is why I'm going to skip it here because it's late. If you are jumping major code versions or if you are doing some testing before you put an upgrade into production, you probably should include this command because it will catch any syntax changes that might occur between versions of code. But if you have run it in the lab, you know it works, you know you can use the no validate, then you can skip it and it'll just save you some time. I'm also going to put in the reboot command because that saves me a step. If you run this without reboot, it will still work. The upgrade doesn't not work. It's just you have to reboot it, to actually make the upgrade take. You could do it like this. You could actually pre-stage an upgrade during the day, and then you can set a reboot timer to go in the middle of the night. It's a neat idea. I have yet to find an admin who's comfortable bouncing switches in the middle of the night unattended and then, saying, oh, and then it'll come back up and they'll be upgraded. So I don't see it used very often, but that's what that reboot command is there for. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. It'll start the upgrade, and I'm going to pause again, and I'll come back when it is complete. All right, all done. Log back in here real quick. And one last step. If we do a show version, we'll verify here. But if we do a show system storage partitions local, you can see which partition we booted from. We can do a show system snapshot local media internal. We just want to make sure that both the, hey, look at that. Backup partitions on old code. You don't want this because if there happens to be a partition, like a power event or something like that, and you boot from your backup partition, and remember, this is running on a Linux kernel. So all it takes is a 1 instead of a 0 in the wrong part of memory if you lose power, and it can cause corruption, which is why we have a backup partition. You definitely want that backup partition to be on the same code. So we'll do a request system snapshot slice alternate. Just a heads up that on some platforms this command's slightly different. It still exists. It's actually a lot easier on some of the other platforms where it's just request system snapshot done. On this platform it's still slice alternate. So I'll run that. This will take a minute. I'm not going to hold you hostage for it. Trust me, it'll finish. Those are the steps. That USB drive is still plugged into the switch. Actually, maybe I'll pause here and I'll just show you that if I remount it, all the files are still there, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'll pause it here and we'll come back to it in a second. All right, that snapshot's done, and I took off my headphones because, hey, I wasn't listening to anything. So we can verify that just with this command here again. We want to make sure that both of the versions are synced. And I'll drop back into shell. We'll do a mount ms dos fs /var. Oh, wait, dev /da1 s1 2 /var /tmp /usb. This should fail because likely USB doesn't exist because I doubt that, yeah. The file system gets overwritten when you do an upgrade, so I need to recreate this. tmp /usb. var /tmp /usb, and our files are still there. umount /dev /da1 s1. All right, that's it. I'm guessing this is very similar to what you're doing right now, if not the same, but since I was asked about file persistence, I thought I'd throw this together. The next one's going to be creating a VC, and then we'll actually do a whole virtual chassis upgrade. So, I'll see you in the next video.